My name is Claire Bennett, 28, and the night my sister destroyed my reputation started with a toast. It was my mom's birthday, soft jazz, string lights over the patio, everyone dressed up like it was a movie scene. I'd spent the entire day helping her decorate, baking her favorite lemon cake, trying to make everything perfect. For a moment, it actually felt like family again. Until Melissa raised her glass. Her smile was too wide, her voice too sweet. Let's also thank Claire for finally learning how to manage money after that little incident with Dad's savings. Laughter rippled through the guests. I froze. "What incident?" someone asked. Melissa leaned forward, eyes glittering. "Oh, she didn't tell you?" she said loudly. "A few months ago, Claire took 15 grand from Dad's emergency fund, said she'd pay it back, still waiting." The room fell silent. My chest tightened. "That's not true," I said, but my words felt like whispers. Mom's smile vanished, Dad's brow furrowed. I saw it, the doubt, the shift. The people I loved most believed her. Melissa just shrugged, taking a sip of wine, pretending innocence. I wanted to scream, to explain that she was the one who moved the money for her new car and pinned it on me when Dad noticed. But the humiliation was suffocating. The same family who used to clap for my art shows now looked at me like a thief. I set my glass down, my hands trembling. "You know that's a lie," I said quietly. Melissa's lips curved. "Then prove it." The crowd murmured again. My father's voice was heavy. "Claire, if you needed help, you should have come to us instead of doing something reckless." I looked at him, at Mom, at my sister, who was soaking up the attention like sunlight. And for the first time, I realized something brutal. Truth didn't matter when charm was louder. I turned and walked out before anyone could see me cry. The air outside was cold against my skin, my heels clattering down the driveway. That was the night I learned betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. It often comes wearing your own last name. She thought she'd won that night, but she had no idea who my boyfriend really was or what would happen at the next company gala. Before I tell you how everything flipped, let me ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by your own family, someone you trusted completely? If you have, share your story in the comments below. I read every one of them. And if you've ever had to rebuild after betrayal, hit subscribe and stay with me, because what happened next still shocks me every time I tell it. That night, I drove home shaking, mascara streaking down my face, replaying every word Melissa said. I wanted to disappear, but somewhere between heartbreak and rage, a small voice whispered, "Don't let her write your story." And that's when I decided she might have started the lie, but I'd finish the truth. Growing up, I used to think my family was unbreakable. Our little blue house in Seattle's Ballard neighborhood always smelled like cinnamon and butter. My parents owned a small bakery on Market Street, and my sister and I would sit on the counter swinging our legs while Mom kneaded dough, the radio humming softly in the background. Melissa and I were a team back then. She'd sprinkle sugar over the cookies while I drew faces on the flour bags with a marker. We laughed until Mom would chase us out of the kitchen, yelling that we'd scare the customers away. Dad would pretend to scold us, then wink when Mom wasn't looking. Back then, I thought love was simple. Warm hands, full plates, bedtime stories. But somewhere along the way, something cracked. It started small, almost invisible. Melissa got older and louder. She loved the spotlight. The school plays, the talent shows, the endless stream of praise that followed her wherever she went. And she was good at it, too. Confident, sharp, magnetic. I was the quiet one with ink-stained fingers, sketching in the margins of my notebooks. At first, Mom would say, "You two are so different, it's wonderful." But slowly, different became less. When Melissa won her high school marketing contest, Mom threw a backyard party. Balloons, cake, neighbors, the whole thing. When I got accepted into art school, they just said, "That's nice, dear," and asked if I could help frost cupcakes for a catering order. I told myself I didn't care, that art didn't need applause, that I didn't need anyone's approval. But I did care, because when you're 16 and you hear your mom say, "Melissa's going places," you start wondering where you fit in. Dad used to call her our golden girl. Once I asked him what I was. He smiled and said, "You're steady, Claire, the kind one." It was meant as a compliment, but it landed like a consolation prize. The distance between us grew quietly, like fog rolling in overnight. Melissa got the new phone when she needed it for school. I got her old one, cracked screen and all. She got extra driving lessons. I got told to figure it out. Still, I tried to bridge the gap. On her 18th birthday, I spent a week painting her a portrait. Realistic, soft colors, every detail perfect. She unwrapped it and laughed. "Wow, you made me look so serious," she said, handing it to Mom like a joke. The room laughed with her. I smiled, pretending it didn't sting. But I went to my room that night and tucked the brushes away for months. It wasn't just about favoritism, it was about being unseen. Even when I did everything right, Melissa somehow shined brighter. She knew how to command attention. I knew how to fade into the background. By the time we hit college, she was the pride of the family, our future executive. I was the starving artist who should probably have a backup plan. Whenever I came home for holidays, I felt like a guest in my own house. Melissa would show up in her polished blazer, talking about her internships and big city connections. Mom would beam, Dad would nod proudly, and I'd sit there with my hot chocolate, smiling in all the wrong places. Sometimes I'd catch Melissa watching me, not with hatred exactly, but with that quiet superiority that said, "You'll always be behind me." And maybe that's why her betrayal years later cut so deep. Because it didn't come from nowhere. It grew out of years of quiet competition I never signed up for. Still, despite everything, part of me loved her. She was my sister, the one who used to braid my hair, steal my socks, and cry when her goldfish died. I kept waiting for that version of her to come back. But she never did. And when I think about it now, I realize the saddest part isn't the betrayal itself. It's knowing the person who hurt you once held your hand crossing the street. That night after the party, sitting alone in my car, I remembered all of that. The sugar, the laughter, the childhood promises that we'd always have each other. And it hit me. Maybe that version of family was something I'd been clinging to long after everyone else had moved on. After that night, I couldn't sleep for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Melissa's smug smile, the way my parents nodded along as if her lies were gospel truth. I told myself I'd just stay away for a while, let time cool everything down. But time didn't heal anything. It just made the silence louder. Then, a week later, I got a text from one of my old college friends, Ryan, who now worked in marketing. "Hey Claire," he wrote, "congrats on the feature. Saw your design in Horizon Tech's new campaign. Looks amazing." I blinked at the message. Horizon Tech? That was the company Melissa worked for. I clicked the link he sent and my stomach dropped. There it was, my design, the one I'd been pitching for months to a local eco brand. The same color palette, the same typography, even the tiny line art I'd hand-drawn late one night. And under it, in bold, Creative Director, Melissa Bennett. My breath caught. For a second, I couldn't move. Then the anger hit, slow and burning, rising from somewhere deep in my chest. I called her immediately. She picked up on the second ring, her voice smooth, casual, like nothing had happened. "Claire? Hey, what's up?" "You stole my work," I said, my voice shaking. "That campaign, it's mine." She didn't even flinch. "Relax," she said. "It's just inspiration. I made it better anyway." My heart pounded. "You used my files, Melissa, the exact ones I showed you when I was asking for feedback?" She laughed, a short, sharp sound that sliced through me. "Come on, Claire. You never do anything with your ideas. I gave them life. You should be thanking me." Something in me cracked. All the years of being dismissed, overshadowed, forgotten, they all poured out at once. "You humiliated me in front of our entire family, and now you're stealing my work too?" Her tone hardened. "Don't make this a thing. You already embarrassed yourself enough at Mom's party. Maybe you should focus on getting your act together instead of blaming everyone else." And just like that, she hung up. I stared at my phone, shaking. The world felt small, airless. I called Mom, desperate to tell her, to finally have someone on my side. "Mom, she stole my work," I said, my voice trembling. "My design, she put her name on it for her company's campaign." Mom sighed. "Claire, honey, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Melissa said she's been working on that project for months." "It's not a misunderstanding. It's theft." But Mom's voice turned cold. "You always think people are out to get you. You need to stop creating drama." I hung up, tears blurring my vision. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was erasure. She was taking my work, my voice, my identity, and the people who should have defended me were telling me to be quiet. I looked around my apartment, sketches pinned to the wall, half-finished projects, the coffee mug I'd painted with her initials years ago. Every corner of my life felt contaminated by her shadow. I wanted to destroy something, to break the silence that had kept me small. That's when the anger turned into fuel. For the first time, I stopped crying. I grabbed my laptop, opened my old files, and compared them to the Horizon Tech campaign. The metadata didn't lie. Timestamps, file names, embedded signatures. Proof. Melissa had copied everything down to the final brushstroke. I sat there in the dark, my fingers trembling over the keyboard, a bitter laugh escaping my throat. She thought she could take everything from me, and I'd stay silent? Not this time. This wasn't just about stolen art anymore. It was about every time I'd been told to be quiet, to stay small, to let her shine. I closed the folder, heart hammering, a thought echoing through my mind. If she wants a show, I'll give her one she'll never forget. The proof was there, every pixel, every timestamp, but somehow it didn't make me feel victorious. It just made me tired. That night, I sat in my small apartment, the glow of my laptop screen reflecting off half-empty coffee cups. I had the evidence that could expose her, but what good was it? Mom wouldn't believe me, Dad wouldn't take sides. And Melissa? She'd always find a way to twist things until I looked like the bitter little sister, jealous of her success. I stared at my phone, my thumb hovering over Ethan's name. My boyfriend. The one person I hadn't told yet. He worked in tech too, coincidentally at the same company as Melissa, though in a different department. But I couldn't bring myself to call him. Not yet. Because if I told him, it wouldn't just be a family issue anymore. It would blow up into something public, something I couldn't control. I tossed the phone aside and buried my face in my hands. For hours, I just sat there, listening to the refrigerator hum, the city buzzing faintly outside. The quiet felt heavier than noise. When the first light of morning crept through the blinds, I realized I hadn't slept. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger, pale, puffy-eyed, empty. I thought about deleting my portfolio, shutting down everything, just starting over somewhere no one knew my name. Maybe move to Portland. Maybe quit design altogether. But quitting wouldn't erase what she'd done. It would just prove her right, that I was weak, unimportant, forgettable. The thought made my stomach twist. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Tara, my best friend since college. Her voice came through, warm and familiar. "Claire, you sound awful. What's going on?" I hesitated, then told her everything. Melissa's lie, the stolen design, the campaign, the phone call with Mom. Every word tumbled out until my throat hurt. For a moment, there was silence on the line. Then Tara exhaled. "God, Claire, that's awful. But listen, you can't let her get away with this." "I have proof," I whispered, "but no one cares." "I care," she said firmly. "And if you have proof, you have power. Don't waste it crying in your apartment. We'll figure something out. Together." Her words cracked something open in me. Not hope exactly, but something like air after drowning. After the call, I sat there staring at the wall. Tara believed me. One person did, and that was enough to make me stand up. I took a shower, washed the exhaustion off, and sat at my desk again. The apartment was silent, but this time it didn't feel suffocating. I opened the files again. Every sketch, every version, every date. I labeled them carefully, organizing everything into folders named Evidence. Then I opened my email and drafted a message to Ethan. "Hey, something happened with Melissa. I need to talk, but not over the phone." My finger hovered over send. Then I stopped. My chest tightened. What if he didn't believe me either? What if this ruined everything? I deleted the draft. That night, I couldn't eat, couldn't think. I just sat on the couch with a blanket pulled to my chin, watching the lights flicker outside the window. Melissa had stolen my work, my family's trust, my sense of safety. And now she was about to win awards for it. For the first time, I wondered if justice even existed for people like me, the quiet ones, the ones no one listens to until it's too late. And in that silence, I whispered something I didn't even realize I was saying out loud. I can't do this anymore. The morning after that breakdown, something inside me shifted. I woke up late, head pounding, but the tears were gone. There was only silence, the kind that follows a storm when the air feels raw and sharp. I opened my laptop again, not to cry over the files this time, but to study them. Every piece of evidence was there. Timestamps, raw sketches, email threads. Melissa hadn't even bothered to rename the files before using them. Arrogance leaves fingerprints, I thought. Around noon, Tara showed up at my apartment with 2 coffees and that look she gets when she's about to stage an intervention. "Put on something decent," she said, tossing me a sweater. "We're not letting your sister walk away with this." We sat across from each other at my small kitchen table, papers spread out like a crime scene. Tara leaned over, scanning everything. "You could sue," she said, "but that'll take months. What you need is exposure, something that hits her where it hurts." I frowned. Her image. Exactly. She was right. Melissa didn't just want success. She wanted applause. She wanted to shine. Take that away, and she'd crumble. That's when I remembered the Horizon Tech Gala, the one she'd been bragging about for weeks. She was in charge of the presentation for her award-winning campaign. My campaign. The entire executive team would be there, along with media coverage. Tara's eyes widened when I told her. "That's perfect. You have proof, you have motive. All you need is timing." For the first time in weeks, I felt something close to hope. We spent the next 2 days building the perfect trap. Tara helped me edit the clips, screenshots, and drafts into a short presentation. Something undeniable, but professional. It wasn't revenge porn, it was truth on display. but I still needed access to the gala. That's when I thought of Ethan. I hesitated for hours before calling him. When he answered, his voice was warm, steady, and familiar, the kind of sound that makes you want to believe everything will be okay. "Claire, I've missed you. Everything all right?" I swallowed hard. "Not really. It's about Melissa." A pause. "What about her?" I said, "She stole my work for her Horizon Tech campaign." There was silence on the line, long and heavy. Then, "Claire, I work at Horizon Tech." "I know," I whispered. "That's why I need your help." I told him everything, the files, the lies, the humiliation. My voice broke once, but I didn't cry. I was past tears. When he finished, Ethan's tone had changed. Cold, professional. "Send me everything," he said. "I'll verify the metadata. If you're right, this isn't just plagiarism, it's corporate theft." By evening, I'd sent it all. At midnight, my phone buzzed. He'd confirmed everything. "She used your files straight from your shared drive. Claire, this is serious." "I know," I said quietly. "I just want the truth out." He paused. "Then let's make it public, properly. At the gala." I stared at my screen, heart thudding. "You'll help me?" "Absolutely. You deserve justice. She deserves consequences." That night, for the first time in months, I slept deeply. The next morning, Ethan sent me a formal invite to the Horizon Tech Gala at the Four Seasons, Seattle. My name on the guest list, +1 for Tara. I almost laughed. It was poetic. For years, I'd been the quiet one, the afterthought, the shadow. Now, I was about to walk into the same room as my sister, only this time, I wasn't the one hiding. Before heading to bed, I looked in the mirror, studying the reflection that had once looked so fragile. "You're not invisible anymore," I whispered. And for the first time, I believed it. The night of the Horizon Tech Gala glowed with that kind of corporate glamour that makes everyone talk too loudly and smile too wide. The Four Seasons ballroom shimmered with golden light, crystal glasses clinking, laughter bouncing off marble floors. Tara and I stood near the entrance, half hidden behind a column draped in white orchids. She whispered, "You ready?" I exhaled slowly. "As ready as I'll ever be." I wore a deep navy dress, simple but confident, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. Across the room, Melissa was in her element. She floated from group to group, shaking hands, her silver gown catching the light. I could almost admire how flawless she looked if I didn't know how rotten it all was underneath. When her eyes landed on me, the color drained from her face for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled, that practiced PR smile, and approached. "Well, if it isn't my little sister," she said, her tone honeyed. "Didn't expect to see you here." I smiled back. "Yeah, I figured I should support the big night." Her gaze flicked toward Ethan, who was talking to an executive across the room. Her smile faltered. She didn't know yet that he was her boss's boss, the one who'd personally approved her promotion. "Funny," she said. "You always hated these things." "Guess I'm learning to appreciate good presentations," I said softly. She tilted her head, suspicious. "What's that supposed to mean?" Before I could answer, a voice over the microphone called everyone to their seats. It was showtime. We filed into the grand hall, rows of white cloth tables facing a massive screen. The air buzzed with anticipation. Melissa took the stage, beaming like a movie star. "Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to present our latest campaign, one that represents months of dedication, creativity, and teamwork." Applause. Cameras flashed. I could feel my pulse in my throat. As the video played, my artwork filled the screen. The same design I'd spent months perfecting, now branded with her logo. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to breathe. Tara leaned close. "Wait for it," she whispered. When the applause quieted, Ethan stepped up to the podium. The room stilled. "Before we continue," he said, his voice smooth, professional, carrying easily across the hall, "I'd like to acknowledge the true creative mind behind this campaign." Melissa turned, her smile stiffening. Thank you, Ethan, but—" He raised a hand. "Claire Bennett, could you please stand?" The room turned toward me. My legs trembled, but I stood. Ethan continued, "We've reviewed the source files, metadata, and creative drafts. It appears this campaign was built entirely from Claire's original work, without her knowledge or consent." A gasp rippled through the audience. Cameras clicked. Melissa's face froze, her expression cracking. "That's not true," she blurted. "She's lying." Ethan gestured toward the screen. The projector flickered, and suddenly the presentation changed. A short video played, showing side-by-side comparisons, my sketches, my digital drafts, and screenshots of Melissa downloading them. Then my name appeared in the file headers, time-stamped months before Horizon Tech's launch. Silence. Pure, stunned silence. Melissa's face turned ghost white. I didn't mean— Claire said I could—" "I never said that," I said, my voice steady for once. "You took what wasn't yours. You humiliated me to make yourself look better. But tonight, everyone sees you for who you really are." Gasps. Whispers. The PR director lowered her head. One of the executives whispered something to Ethan, who nodded grimly. "Melissa Bennett," he said, his tone flat. "You're suspended effective immediately pending investigation." The words hit the room like thunder. She turned to me, eyes wide, desperate. "Claire, please, don't do this." I met her gaze. "You already did." And then I walked away. Applause began, slow, uncertain at first, then stronger. It wasn't for revenge, it was for truth. Tara met me at the back of the room, her eyes glistening. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan joined us moments later, slipping his hand gently into mine. "She's done. HR will handle the rest. You were incredible up there." For the first time in months, I felt light. Not triumphant, just free. As we stepped outside, cool night air hit my face. The Seattle skyline shimmered against the water. I took one deep breath and smiled. "Justice doesn't always shout," I said softly. "Sometimes it just speaks loud enough for the right people to hear." Ethan smiled, and tonight, everyone heard you. It's been 6 months since that night at the gala, and sometimes I still catch myself replaying it. Not the chaos, but the moment after, when the room went quiet and I finally breathed without shaking. Melissa moved out of Seattle a few weeks later. Horizon Tech let her go, quietly. My parents called, of course, first angry, then tearful, then guilty. Mom said, "Families make mistakes, Claire. You shouldn't have aired dirty laundry in public." I almost laughed. It stopped being laundry when you let her cover me in it. I said gently. I didn't say it to hurt her. I just couldn't pretend anymore. Since then, I've been building something new. Ethan and I moved into a cozy apartment overlooking Lake Union. I started freelancing full-time, then opened my own small design studio, Bennett Studio, ironically. Clients actually call me by name now. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Melissa, about how envy and ego can twist something as pure as sisterhood into rivalry. I don't hate her anymore. Hate keeps you tied to the same pain. But I'll never forget how silence almost erased me. Forgiveness isn't pretending it didn't happen. It's saying, You no longer have the power to define me. I still visit my parents sometimes, but it's different now. I don't walk in hoping to be seen. I walk in already knowing my worth. When I see that old photo of us as kids in the bakery, two girls covered in flour, smiling like the world belonged to us, I don't feel bitterness anymore. Just a quiet kind of goodbye. Because maybe family isn't always the people who share your blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up when the world turns its back. People like Tara, like Ethan, like the strangers who messaged me after hearing my story saying, "That happened to me too." So if you're watching this and you've been betrayed by someone you loved, listen to me. You will survive it. You will rebuild. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you're free. Drop a broken heart or a hands up in the comments if you've ever had to stand alone. Share your story. Someone out there needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, because next time we're talking about how healing really begins.